Welcome to English Podcast. Subscribe our channel for more update.
Welcome to the deep dive. You send us your sources, and well, we're here to pull out the key knowledge, the insights, just making it easier to stay well informed.
Exactly. And today we're diving into something maybe a bit different. Daily life, time management.
Right, but through a really specific lens.
Yeah, we've been looking at an episode of a podcast called English Talk Time. The host is Emma, and she's talking to a guest named Liam.
Liam. Okay, and he's learning English.
He is. He's described as intermediate B1 level.
Mm-hmm.
So he can handle everyday conversations. And he lives in Barcelona, works as a graphic designer.
Gotcha. So our mission here, our deep dive, it isn't just about, how someone learns English while juggling life.
No, it's broader.
Oh,
It's about seeing what we can learn from his experience. Practical stuff like routines, how he manages his time.
And also the why behind it, right? What actually motivates someone to take on something like language learning when they're already busy?
Precisely. And hopefully you listening might find some parallels, some relatable bits, maybe even some concrete ideas you can use yourself.
Even if you're not learning English specifically, it could be any goal, really.
Absolutely. So, starting with that motivation piece, what did Liam say was driving him?
Well, a big one was travel. He just really wants to see more of the world.
And English definitely helps with that, doesn't it? It's kind of a global language for travelers.
For sure. But it wasn't only about holidays. He also mentioned his career.
Ah, right. The job market. He feels English skills are becoming more and more important.
Yeah, pretty much essential in many fields now. He sees it as a way to open up more opportunities later on. Makes sense.
Very practical.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier it wasn't all practical.
No, exactly. He also talked about genuinely enjoying watching movies in English. He even called it a beautiful language.
That adds a nice dimension, doesn't it? That personal connection, the enjoyment factor.
It really does. And I think that mix is often what makes people stick with things, The practical need plus some genuine interest or enjoyment.
Yeah, like learning an instrument or, I don't know, getting into fitness. If you only have the should, but not the want, it's tough.
It's much harder to sustain.
Yeah.
So these motivations, they presumably shape how he actually structures his time.
Definitely. They inform his routine.
Okay, so let's get into that. His typical weekday, what does it look like?
Well, he gets up around 5 a.m.
Oof, early-ish.
Yeah, and he did admit he's not a massive fan of mornings. Relatable for many, I suspect.
Huh, tell me about it. And breakfast.
Pretty simple stuff. Cereal or maybe toast, some fruit, coffee, standard quick fuel before heading out.
And then the commute?
Yep, about 40 minutes on the metro in Barcelona. Gets him to work for 9 a.m.
Okay, and work itself, he's a graphic designer.
Right, so standard hours, 9.000000 mostly. But he mentioned sometimes things run longer, deadlines, projects.
Some usual pressures.
That's okay.
Especially, I imagine, in a creative role with clients.
Exactly. He enjoys the creative part.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he also mentioned the stress that can come with, like, last-minute client changes, something many people in similar jobs would recognize.
Totally. Okay, so he finishes work, gets home around 6 p.m.
Around 6 p.m., yeah. Takes a short break, which sounds smart, decompresses a bit.
Good idea. And then?
Then, 3 or 4 times a week, he hits the gym or does some stretching at home.
Impressive. Fitting that in after a full workday shows commitment.
It really does. It's easy to let that slide.
Yeah.
But then comes the other key commitment.
The English study.
Exactly. He dedicates at least 30 minutes to it every evening.
Every evening. Wow. And how does he actually study? What methods?
He uses a real mix, which is interesting. Podcasts, reading articles, YouTube videos.
So consuming content.
Right, but also more active stuff, language apps like Duolingo, and he even participates in online speaking groups.
Ah, so hitting it from different angles, listening, reading, vocab, speaking practice.
Yeah, it seems quite well-rounded, keeps it from getting stale probably, and works different skills.
It really paints a picture of someone actively balancing things. Work, life, exercise, and this consistent learning effort. That's a lot to juggle.
It is. Finding that energy and time consistently, especially after a workday, isn't easy.
So how does he make it happen? Did he share any specific time management strategies?
He did. He mentioned using a planner, like a physical or digital planner.
Okay, planning things out.
Yeah. And specifically, he sets aside time every Sunday evening to plan the week ahead.
The whole week, not just work stuff.
No, everything. Work tasks, yes,
Yeah.
but also scheduling in his gym sessions, his English practice time, and even, importantly, his free time.
Ah, blocking it all out. That sounds, well, really proactive.
It does. He said it helps him stay focused during the week and actually reduces his stress.
I can see that. When you know what's coming, what you need to do, it feels less chaotic, doesn't it? Less reactive.
Definitely. And he made another point, too, about recognizing limits,
Like what?
like learning to say no sometimes and accepting that you just can't do absolutely everything in one day.
Oh, that's a big one. The pressure to just keep adding more. It's easy to fall into that trap.
So true.
Right.
So his strategies are really about structure, planning, and setting realistic boundaries.
Which are, pretty universal time management principles, but seeing them applied by someone like Liam in his specific context makes it feel more tangible.
Right. It's not just theory, it's how he actually navigates his week.
And you mentioned he schedules free time too. It's not all work and study.
No, definitely not. He talked about enjoying reading. He likes fantasy and mystery. Mentioned being a J.K. Rowling fan.
Okay, good taste.
And movies and TV series, too. Big fan of action and drama. He actually said he's watched Inception 5 times.
Wow. Okay, he really likes Inception.
Seems so.
Yeah.
Plus, things like playing video games, just going for walks in the park, meeting friends for coffee, normal, relaxing stuff.
It shows he values that balance, doesn't it? The downtime, the social connection. It's not just about grinding away at goals.
Absolutely. And he mentioned weekend activities, too, like going hiking sometimes or taking short trips out of Barcelona, getting that change of scenery.
All crucial for avoiding burnout and just, well, living a full life.
And one interesting crossover is how he uses some of that leisure time for his English.
Ah, like the movies.
Exactly. He mentioned watching them in English. He started using English subtitles, but now he's trying to watch without them more often, really pushing his listening skills.
That's smart. Kind of immersive learning, but built around something he enjoys anyway.
Yeah, it makes the learning feel less like a separate chore and more integrated. Active engagement, not just passive watching.
So tying this all together, did he offer one sort of key piece of advice, maybe specifically for language learners, but maybe broader too?
He did. It was pretty direct. He said, basically, don't wait for the perfect time. Just start.
Just start. Simple but powerful.
Yeah. And he added, even 10 minutes of English every day is better than nothing.
Oh, I love that. That really tackles the whole I don't have enough time barrier head on.
It really does. It lowers the bar for getting started, removes that pressure of needing a huge block of time or perfect conditions.
Which applies to pretty much anything, doesn't it? Exercise, writing, learning code, whatever. That first step is often the hardest.
Absolutely. And he also advised mixing up learning methods, reading, listening, speaking, to keep it engaging. Variety is key.
Good point. Avoids boredom, works different pathways.
But that core message, just start, even small, that feels like the most universal takeaway. Think about something you've been putting off.
Right, we all have those things. Waiting for the right moment, the right mood.
And Liam's experience suggests maybe that's the wrong approach. That consistency, even with just 10 minutes a day, builds momentum.
10 minutes feels tiny, but yeah, you do that every day for a month, a year.
Yeah.
It adds up significantly. It's about building the habit.
Exactly. So looking back at Liam's story, the key things that jump out are having clear motivations.
Both practical and personal.
Right. Then using structured planning to make time for your priorities.
While also consciously balancing different parts of life, work, learning, health, leisure.
And finally, that commitment to consistent effort, however small the daily step might be, just keep showing up.
Okay, so that leads us to the final thought for you, the listener, reflecting on Liam's way of tackling English learning.
How could you maybe apply some of that thinking to your own goals, your own time management?
Is there something you've been delaying, waiting for that perfect time Liam talked about?
Maybe his story is a little nudge, a reminder that often the best time to start is, well, right now.
Even if it's just for 10 minutes, that small, consistent step could be all it takes to get moving. Something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.